You're welcome back. This is the Signature Morning on Signature TV, and if you just joined us, we've been having different discussion about what's happening around us this morning. You can go on all our social media platforms to check us out. We are at Signature TV News, and we are 24/7 live on YouTube at Signature TV Official. So this morning we'll be talking about Nigeria economic policies, IMF and World Bank. And joining us this morning is Mr. Ifediora Amobi, monetary economist. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
How are you doing this morning?
Very well.
So there's a whole lot that has, played out in our system. The NLC the other day blamed World Bank and IMF for the things that Nigerians are facing, the hardship, that the presidency is just swallowing whole line and sinker what the IMF had devised, which other presidents did not do. And even when they listen, they take it with a pinch of salt. They don't go the whole hog. But it's quite shocking. Since 1999 up until this particular administration, there hasn't been any government of Nigeria that has increased fuel by over 450%, just under 15 months of its administration. And then you wonder really, is this the right thing to do? Are we on the right track? Every now and then you hear, these are our baby steps. We should take these baby steps and move forward. That this is the only way we could move forward. And then you also see things that are really suspicious with what Dangote has been saying, and even up until yesterday. In fact, there's a video I'm going to play for you so you could listen and watch. And maybe we can take it off from there. I don't know if my producers are ready with that particular video. Okay, they're not ready with the video, but I'm going to still play the video just before long. But I'm just asking, are we on the right track on what's going on in this country, especially as it concerns the advice from IMF and World Bank?
Well, thank you. Remember what former President Obasanjo said, one of his favorite quotes: "You can give me advice, but I don't have to take it." The IMF and World Bank, part of their role is advisory, amongst other things, where they want to make sure that the economy is stable, there's prosperity, there's poverty reduction, etc. Yes, over the years we have actually not seen the type of progress or growth that we would have expected. The various regimes that have been here in Nigeria up until now. The World Bank and the IMF and other institutions like that have their own policies, they have their own agenda, and they try as much as possible to assist countries, break out of the economic crisis that they have seen themselves involved in. The question actually that I always ask myself is, ever since this involvement or this romance with institutions like that, and of course, an institution like the World Bank has been in Nigeria since 1958, and so we're talking about more than 65 years now. I always ask myself, what can I point as a success story? And it's not just Nigeria, it's globally. Given the involvement they've had across the 100 and something countries that institutions like this have been involved in, which country can say we are where we are today? We are developed, we are less dependent, we have now crossed that line because of our involvement in bilateral relationships and external financing. And it's hard to actually find. So you ask yourself, has it really, are we, just like your question, are we really on the right track? Are we getting the right advice? Are we depending too much on these institutions? And I think to a large extent, we are. A number of countries over time have actually found out that this whole idea of throwing your economy out and letting market forces determine, either your prices or your tax regime, etc., is not really working the way it's supposed to work. And so, Labour is right to a large extent, saying, listen, hey, we've actually, swallowed this whole reform advice, hook, line, and sinker. And maybe it's time we start looking internal and start using our own resources and our own, both physical and human resources to now chart a course into how we are going to now move the country going forward. Because if there was no IMF and World Bank, the country is not going to fold up. We're still going to, work towards achieving that objective. And so, we've, in the past year and a half now, we've had some very, very harsh economic policies that have not been, people friendly. We're all experiencing, the hardship that have come with subsidy removal, that have come with, interest rate hikes, that have come with, high taxation, that have come with the devaluation of the naira, etc. And so, and both the government and the World Bank and IMF have said to us, oh, be patient. We're going to see light at the end of the tunnel. It's been 18 months into this administration, or even longer. And the average person cannot say, I see the light, or cannot even say, okay, this is when this hardship is going to end. And so you ask yourself, how much of a price are we, willing to pay as a people in order to reach that promised land, quote unquote? Will there be anybody left by the time,
we'll see the lights at the end of the tunnel?
So it's still so many questions still need to be answered. And
okay, I'm just beginning to ask, are there examples of IMF and World Bank policies that, that have shown any positivity in terms of the economic situation of the country? Because I'm beginning to think that IMF and World Bank, they have their own personal interest in all the policies they keep on proffering to Nigeria.
Well, yes. There will always be those interests. The World Bank wants to see poverty reduced. The World Bank wants to see, prosperity in terms of, Nigerians being able to achieve as a people. They want to see the youth, they want to see women, they want to see disabled, they want to see, those vulnerable groups rise from where they are today to a level where they can be at least self-sustainable. The IMF, wants to see Nigeria's economy stabilize. They want to see, the foreign exchange rates, foreign exchange market, be at on a more stable, level, and not fluctuate as much as it does. We don't want to wake up every day and see the naira, depreciate the way it is depreciating. So those are the objectives. Have there been successes? Yes, because one cannot just draw a blanket and say, well, regardless of how much money Nigeria has borrowed from either of these institutions and so on, that we haven't seen some level of success. The question is that enough for a 200 plus million population? Because
World Bank, came out some days ago to say that it will take Nigeria 15 years to actualize for the implementation of that policy and for us to see the actual lights at the end of the tunnel. So it means there's going to be a continuous hardship till that estimated period, and which we don't know how many people are going to be alive to see the light, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, it could take less. You know, as much as we're pointing fingers at the World Bank and the IMF, we should also point fingers at us Nigerians and how genuine we are, you know, because in a lot of these things, corruption and tribalism and nepotism and everything also has its own role that it plays in ensuring that 15 years could be 5 years or could be 25 years. So, you know, we also have to be sincere. We also have to be transparent and open and honest with ourselves, that we want to see these things happen. If we sabotage them, it could take 50 years. The question now is, do we have that kind of time? Nigerians, you and I want to see things happening tomorrow. We want to see, okay, now, like I said, 18 months we have removed subsidy, even though it's neither here nor there. But we have been told that we've saved about 2 point something, is it $1 million or billion naira from the subsidy?
Trillion, in fact, over 2 trillion.
Exactly.
Naira.
Where has that money gone to? So we have this huge amount that has been saved, but we've been borrowing almost every month. Every month there's a new, you know, a new loan for one thing or the other. We're selling oil, we're generating revenue, we're borrowing, we're saving.
What actually are we saving? Because
well, you know, that's what, you know, what we are being told. So at the end of the day, you look around, has your life improved? And the answer is no. Are prices still going up in the market? Yes. Are your bills still going up? Your electricity bill, your telecommunications bill, your water bill? Yes. Are your taxes still going up? Yes. VAT is being reviewed, this is being done, everything else, your sales tax. And so you ask yourself, with all these benefits, you know, all the good news that we are getting, you know, that we're actually receiving from the government, from the IMF, and from the media, does that impact positively on the life of the average person? And there's a mismatch there.
You know, you can't really talk about Nigerian economy without even talking about our oil sector, because largely most things depend on it, because we still earn the most monies or the most dollars from the sale of oil, even though there are some sectors that are doing well, but not as well as our crude oil sales. There was a meeting now that Dangote had with the presidency yesterday, I think, and Dangote revealed certain things that were quite shocking. I mean, every now and then you hear news and stories and you feel that we're getting there, because when, you know, Dangote refinery was announced that it was coming on board, there was this joy and happiness that at least Nigerians can breathe. If you look at across the African continent, people who have oil, countries who have oil in their countries, that this natural resource, don't buy oil or this diesel or fuel more than 700. I mean, take a look at Angola, take a look at Egypt, take a look at, you know, even Libya. Don't buy fuel above 700 across board. And then you wonder, why is Nigeria paying up to 1,000 naira for fuel per liter?
Yeah.
So I just want to play the back video. I was telling you about the video where Dangote was saying something about the fact that he has several billions of liters, and there hasn't been anybody, marketers are not forthcoming to even buy from him. Right. And then you wonder whether there's some sort of hanky-panky. Let's play back that video. We'll be right back after this.
We are producers. I have a refinery. I'm not in the business of retail. If I'm in the business of retail, then you hold me responsible. But what I'm saying is that the retailers should please come forward and pick. If they don't come forward and pick, what do you want me to do? That's nothing that I can do. So I am expecting either NNPC or the marketers to stop importing. They should come and collect. We have what they need. And, you know, as they remove, I'll be pumping. I don't know whether you understand what it takes to keep 500 million liters inside our tank. It's costing me money. Every day, if I will be able to collect the naira, I can actually charge somebody 32% in interest. So right now, that's what I'm losing. And you are talking about 500 billion. I mean, we don't print money, but the issue is that if they come and collect, then you will not see any queues in the filling stations. We have what it takes for them to come and collect. We are not retailers. We also don't have trucks to send. We have a factory where we can load. If they come and pick, they will go and distribute. And they've been doing that with importation. So if they have been doing that with importation, if it's true they are doing 55 million, I see no reason why they won't come and collect our own and distribute.
What do you make of this?
Well, it doesn't take one day or 1 week to break a cabal. It goes back to the same corruption that I talked about before. You know, the oil and gas sector is run by, an oligopoly, right? It's a cabal system. And over the years, they've been the ones who have controlled everything from the subsidy payments to, distribution, etc. And every time there's scarcity, it benefits them because they can now hike the prices and sell, at any cost. Or they can even move these products across the border and sell them at a higher price in our neighboring countries. So Dangote has now come in to provide this product and flood the market with it. What happens now is you're now fighting the cabal. And the cabal will not sit back and let you take over. They will retaliate.
So this cabal, does it involve the presidency? Because you cannot run that level of cabalism without the presidency.
Well, that's the million-naira question. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer to that. But the fact is that, just like Dangote said, if the distributors' trucks were going to the jetties and places like that to get fuel that is imported and had no issues and were evacuating fuel, suddenly you now have cheaper fuel, or at least, local fuel that has also been, been shown as even higher quality than the ones imported. Bring your trucks. And like you said, he's not a distributor. He has 1 billion liters of fuel just sitting there. And no trucks are coming to evacuate.
So, do you think there's a conspiracy even amongst the marketers now? Because again, it's no longer about the NNPC. NNPC says that it's not going to be the middleman anymore, because while it was a middleman who were buying fuel at 800 and something naira, meaning that at the time it had bought fuel for lesser the price from Dangote. Right. So now it's no longer the middleman. And then you have the marketers who also cried foul that NNPC wants to be the middleman between them and Dangote.
Correct.
So do you then see that now the marketers are not going to Dangote to buy, they rather import. So can you explain what kind of hanky-panky is playing?
Well, I can't explain the hanky-panky.
Okay, maybe you can hazard a guess.
Yeah. I mean, the scenario is, it's actually laid bare for all of us to see, right? It all depends on what judgment or interpretation you now give. Suddenly, like I said, here is fuel. You can get it for less. It's better quality, it's local, there's zero importation or landing costs.
Yes.
Except from the crude oil, And so, this is what, this is the price. Come and take the fuel. Why do we have lines? It is in Nigeria. You don't need no customs clearance, nothing. It is here. Yet, there are fuel queues in Lagos, in Abuja, and other places.
Wow.
So, there are certain things you can explain academically. There are other things that are political. You just have to either just see them, accept them, say what you can say, or zip up. But that's the reality on the ground. And,
Wow.
yeah. And so, yeah, there isn't there.
So some time back, we saw a particular news story that so many refineries abroad will suffer with the advent of, Dangote refinery. Do you think these refineries abroad are also part of the problems too? Because again, you can't have somebody who is in Nigeria having to lose a lot if Dangote refinery, is pumping this amount of fuel, and then they watch you, just like you mentioned, you watch you just steal the market from them. They want to do some sort of collaboration, and not just collaboration, do certain things that would make sure that the price remains high, and then even if they buy from Dangote, they'll still keep the price at that, but just to make sure that this business doesn't go away from them.
I mean, absolutely, absolutely. These are some of the, if you want to put it in a more politically acceptable term, you say these are some of the unfair trade practices that occur. Yes, a big part of the issues that we face here in Nigeria have external, components to them. Because if over the years I have been taking advantage of you, and then suddenly you wake up and you want to take back, it's going to affect my own bottom line. Unless I concede or agree and negotiate something with you and I say, okay, I was taking 110 before, I can give you 0.01, so it becomes 109.99, still, still to my advantage. That's one way we can agree and you get that extra 0.1%. Otherwise, I'm going to put everything, I have in my arsenal to ensure that I still maintain my position.
Okay.
Wow.
So let's take a look back at IMF and World Bank. How would you say Nigeria can strike a balance between meeting with IMF and World Bank expectations and also fostering a homegrown economic policy for Nigeria?
Well, I think to date Nigeria isn't doing badly when it comes to their relationship with the World Bank and the IMF. I think Nigeria owes the World Bank about $16.5 billion in debt, and owes the IMF close to 1.3 billion or thereabout. When you convert the special drawing rights that we have actually, drawn upon. Now, these figures, might sound, quite large. I mean, $16 billion is not, chicken change. However, within each of these institutions, they have certain types of loans that are designed for what they call the poor countries. Yeah. In the World Bank, it is the International Development Association, the IDA, that monitors and lends loan to the poorest of the poor countries. So countries have to meet a certain requirement to qualify for IDA loans. And most IDA loans are either interest-free or have a very, very small concession interest. On the IMF side, they have what they call, I think it's called the poverty reduction, something, almost their own equivalent of the World Bank's IDA. And countries have to qualify for that in order to draw down. Nigeria qualifies for the IDA loan, but doesn't qualify for the World Bank, for the IMF equivalent of it. And so that's why what we're taking from the IMF is about 1.3 billion. But for the World Bank, where we qualify with a 1% or 0% or some, not even more than 1.4% overall per annum. So we draw more from there than from the IMF. we take the IMF advice and we implement their advice, which is possibly, probably where we are today, or the situation we are in today. But we don't take a lot of their money. We do more on the IDA side. So, your question, was how do we, manage these? Like I said, we haven't done badly because we've considered these interest rate implications in what we borrow. The question now is, are we taking these IDA loans for what we really want, or are they being prescribed for us? Now, if you look at the composition of our World Bank loans,
we're almost out of time, but just if you could just wrap up in 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah, some of them are actually more geared towards poverty reduction, IDA camp type thing, access to markets, those things that are within that bucket. Yeah, and so, the long and short of it, or the point I'm trying to make is that our policies, first and foremost, should be homegrown. Homegrown. Yes, we'll take their advices, but we have to also create a filter where we can say, okay, yes, we can go so far, so much. I think it has been a big mistake on our own part, swallowing it hook, line, and sinker, and going, on this all-out reforms without, a time period for people to actually adjust, or for the country to adjust to them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ifediora Amobi, for your time this morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be moving ahead to